Yuri never saw the second drone. The first one was a decoy, silent, low, and deliberate. By the time the heat signature triggered his alert system, it was too late. In the heart of Donetsk, deep behind enemy's line, his team of three was reduced to two. They scrambled. Bullets tore through the evening air. Yuri didn't make it to the cover. Shagel was already watching from the ridge, instructed to observe, not engage. But rules broke in war. He pulled the trigger once, then twice. Yuri fell. The silence afterwards was heavier than the gunfire. Captured, beaten, and blindfolded, Yuri was dragged through a tunnel of boots and backing orders. He was a high-value asset, intelligent officer, NATO-trained, his life now bargaining power. Somewhere in Kiev, someone would trade for him, or so he hoped. Back in the Ukrainian field hospital, Shagel lay quietly, half his body burned from a failed tank assault. The locals handed him over. The Russians, who cried for water, they called him. His accent betrayed him. Now he too was a prisoner. Little did they know they were now each other's ticket home. Yuri spent his days in solitary, his mind a battlefield. Interrogators came in waves, some in threats, others with compassion. None succeeded. His training held, but at night the dreams came, his wife, his daughter, their last wave before they crossed the border. Shagel wrote letters, dozens, to his mother, to the girl he left in Kaluga, to God. Most were never sent, but the art kept him sane. He picked up Ukrainian from the guards and then picked up guilt. On the other side, both governments prepared for an unprecedented swap. Istanbul was the venue. The Red Cross would oversee it. 1,000 names on each side. Politics dressed as mercy. Back-channel negotiators knew Yuri's name. He was number 47 on the Ukrainian list. Shagel was number 893 on Russia's barely made the cut. His survival was never about value, about visibility. A Russian soldier pleading for help in Ukrainian hospital had gone viral. In separate corners of opposing systems, they waited. Hope was a fragile currency, but it was all they had. Unknown to both sides, Yuri carried more than military secrets. He had memorized a code, Operation Foxtrot, which, if activated, would disable Russian GPS system along the Black Sea. This alone made him worth 10 prisoners. And Shagel, he had overheard something during his hospital days. A Ukraine defector, code-named Falcon, was feeding the Russians intel from inside Kiev's command. Shagel had no idea how valuable that was until his Ukrainian interrogator stopped writing halfway through his third retelling. The men were interrogated again, harder, smarter, not for pain, but for precision. But both of them remained unknown bound, pawns in a chess game bigger than borders. In Istanbul, the negotiators met behind soundproof doors. Lists were swapped. Tensions simmered. Both Russia and Ukraine had reasons to agree, and secrets, they hope, would remain buried during the exchange. But secrets have a way of surfacing, especially when lives are on the line. 3 days before the swap, Yuri was moved, a secret prison cleaner, quieter but colder. He sensed change, less brutality, more surveillance. A Red Cross officer visited. Yuri recognized his ensign. Hope whispered again. Shagel was also moved, though not told why. He was given a new uniform, fed better food, but the eyes that watched him had changed, less hatred, more calculation. Both were told nothing, only that they were being considered. Meanwhile, the plan changed. Intelligence agencies on both sides wanted leverage. Russians wanted to insert a tracker into Yuri. Ukraine planned to plant a micro camera in Shagel's uniform collar. Both men would unknowingly carry espionage tools. The day before the swap, a storm hit Istanbul. Flights were grounded. The universe seemed to rebel, but the swap would go on. War didn't wait for clear skies. The morning of the exchange arrived. Yuri was handcuffed, hooded, and loaded into a black convoy alongside 49 others. The engine roared like war drums. Each bump on the road felt like judgment. He didn't know their destination, only that something final was happening. Shege was flown from Kharkiv to the police and Polish border under heavy guard. For a moment, he thought it was an execution until he saw the Red Cross flags flapping in the wind. They gave him clean boots. That when he knew he was going home. On both sides, journalists gathered, but were kept at bay. The air cracked with tensions. Cameras clicked. The world was watching, not for mercy, but for mistakes. Security forces were armed to the teeth. No one trusted the other. The swap zone was a narrow bridge, a neutral zone between Ukraine and Belarus. Under UN observation, each side approached with separate buses. As Yuri stepped off the vehicle, blinking at the blinding light, he saw rows of soldiers like chairs, piece black on one side, white on the other, and between them, silence thicker than smoke. A UN officer signaled with a green flare. The exchange had begun. One by one, soldiers walked across the demilitarized bridge, eyes forward, no speaking, no looking back. Yuri was 47th, Shegel 893. They would not meet, but their fates were threaded by more than timing. As Yuri stepped forward, the wind carried whispers somewhere behind the Russian line. A commander whispered to a colonel, "Activate plant dust. Track the camera once he's inside Kyiv." Yuri felt a sudden sting in his shoulder. He staggered, unaware a signal had been sent. On the Ukrainian side, Shegel's face was being scanned. Quietly, a technician whispered, "It's him. That's the one who mentioned Falcon." The other came faster. "Extract him after landing. We'll brief in Ravine." And so the swap unfolded, not just bodies, but secrets, traps, and time bombs disguised as men. When Yuri crossed, he kissed the ground. Then Shagel crossed. He wept. In the crowd, a sniper blinked through his scope, but not shot came. Not yet. Yuri was flown to Kyiv, safe house. His daughter, now 5, didn't recognize him at first. His wife held him like she could rebuild him with just her arms. But the surveillance had begun. The tracker was online. Meanwhile, Shagel arrived at Moscow to a heroine's reception flowers, media, medal. He gave a brief statement about the kindness of some Ukrainian soldiers and was quietly pulled aside. 2 FSB agents handed him civilian clothes. "You are needed," one said. But Shekel had changed. He detested both sides, and he didn't like the bitterness of either. That night, he flushed his medal down a public toilet near Red Square, and someone saw. Yuri, still recovering, resumed his intelligent duties, but something felt off. His laptop ran hot. His wife's phone buzzed with strange frequencies. The CIA reached out with a cryptic email. "You've been seeded." In a forest safe house, 2 Ukrainian agents reviewed Shegel's testimony. The name, Falcon, appeared repeatedly. Then chilling, a real name was matched to it, a high-ranking officer in the president's inner circle. Yuri initiated foxtrot. The GPS jammers in the Black Sea lit up like wildfire. Russian ship drifted blind. Moscow screamed in encrypted fury. But Yuri already knew what would follow. They came at dawn. A fire broke out in Yuri's safe house. He escaped through the kitchen window. His daughter bundled under his coat. Kiev erupted with paranoia. Who else had been seeded? Shagel, now in hiding, used a burner phone to send one message to a Ukrainian contact. "Falcon is Petrov. He's planning a blackout in Lviv." That message alone changed the course of the next NATO briefing. But Petrov was triply. He vanished an hour before arrest, leaving behind a single feather and a bronze USB drive labeled Raven's Nest. International media ran with stories. Defectors exposed deep spy game behind prisoner swap. The Red Cross denied involvement. The UN demanded accountability, but no one truly knew how deep it went. And in the fog of post-war diplomacy, two lives, Yuri and Shegel's, had become a lynching in a much darker war. Yuri confronted the general who approved the swap. "You used me as bait," he growled. "You planted me back like a virus." The general said nothing. His silence was confession. Shegel found refuge in Finland. He wrote a memoir titled Between Flags, secretly published under a pseudonym. It became a bestseller among journalists, but he refused to claim it. Fame was more dangerous than obscurity. Ukraine cracked down. Dozens of mid-level officers were arrested. Falcon's network was dismantled, but Yuri knew it wasn't over. Falcon was a ghost, but ghosts always return. At night, Yuri recorded tapes of his daughter. "If anything happens to me, know that I did it for your future." And that freedom has a cost. Sometimes it's your soul. And in a dark server room in Kaliningrad, someone typed, "Project Dusk Phase 2 activated." 2 years later, a new prisoner swap was proposed. This time, Shege was on the list, caught by NATO after sneaking into Ukraine, but no one knew why he returned. At the swap site, Yuri knew now a colonel stood watching from afar. He spotted Shegel. Their eyes met for the first time. Across no man's land, across history, Shegel smiled, sadly, as if to say, it was always going to end like this. The next exchange went smoothly on the surface, but minutes later, a Kyiv server exploded. Falcon had returned. Only now, his ghost had a name, Yuri. Because something in the deepest war, the spy becomes the spied, the weapon becomes the wound, and freedom becomes the illusion. What if a simple prisoner swap between Ukraine and Russia was more than just diplomacy? The swap is a high-stake thriller that follows two soldiers, one Ukraine, one Russian, whose fates collided in a secret war of espionage, betrayal, and sacrifice. As the world watches a betrayal, a sacrifice, as the world watches televised moments of peace, dark intelligent operation unfold behind the scenes, this gripping story drives into loyalty, identity, and the cost of freedom in a war that isn't just fought with guns, but secrets based on real events. This fictional drama will leave you breathless. Thank you very much for sticking around. If you've watched this moment, please do not forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, and also go down to the comment section and drop what you think about the war going on in Ukraine. Thank you very much once again. See you next time in my next video.